Welcome back to the Horror Academic for another Day in the Life Daily Edition. This is another kaiju edition. Today we're talking about Space Amoeba. Ooh, giant squid. Yes. So Space Amoeba came out in 1970. It's an Oshiro Honda, so this is like definitely a Toho branded film. It's a little goofier than maybe what we expect, but this is, when you get into the later Godzillas, like in the late 60s, early 70s, you see this kind of more kid-friendly kind of monsters. They kind of almost feel like Ultraman's bad guys from the early seasons. But it was a fun movie. It's one that I'm surprised I hadn't seen before because, it definitely fits in to that world. The funny thing is it's about this trip to kind of the other monster island. It's another island that's overrun by monsters. Um, but there's like a photographer who's flying back from a vacation in Brazil, and he reads a story about a space probe that is supposed to stay up in space for like 3.5 years, I think, and then come back down to Earth. But it's only been like 4 months. It's missing, and he sees it fall back into the ocean. So he's trying to figure out where it fell. And at the same time, there's a group of entrepreneurs who are purchasing the island for a resort, and they want him to come with them to photograph the island and its interesting biological specimens. And he knows the biologist who's in charge, so he says, it's two birds with one stone. This is the region where I think this landed, and I can get some money for doing this shoot for you guys, and you'll fly me there, so it's a win-win. So he goes with them, and, of course, it's an island where the native folks are worshiping a kaiju monster. It's very like Mothra-like, but maybe kind of like like a smaller community, a little bit more chilled out, not quite as big as the Mothra scenes of the worshiping. But, there's drums and there's chanting and there's, flame and everybody's, bowing down. So it's very similar to Mothra. But this time it's a squid. Yep, it's a really big squid. It's a really big squid with kind of googly eyes. But that's only one of the monsters in this film. There's also a kaiju crab and a kaiju turtle, and basically the two stories kind of collide because the probe that went to outer space has been inhabited by some sort of space amoeba, hence the name of the movie. Because I'm like, why isn't this movie called Big Huge Squid? Nope, it's space amoeba because it's infecting the monsters and making them evil. So you got these three monsters that have been affected by the space amoeba. It's kind of possessing their bodies, and they're attacking, and they're trying to take over the planet. And of course, at one point, they have to inhabit a human so that they can have the big scene that every sci-fi movie from this period has, where he tells you their dastardly plans. The Godzilla films love to do this, even more so, I think, than like James Bond movies, where some alien has to explain to the humans who are too dumb to figure it out that we are trying to take over your planet. And so it's done really well in this one too. So it's like these two topics coming together of like the dangerous things out in outer space and the huge monsters that are basically kind of like prehistoric, that are kind of like made worse by this space amoeba. So this movie kind of suffers from not as high quality, maybe a little lower budget than some of the other Godzilla films of the period. There's some definite matte paintings, which, matte paintings can be done really well. Not all of these are seamless. That you can definitely see some wire, some like fishing wire that's holding stuff in place, with the tentacles. There's some wire action going on, but it's definitely suitimation. So, when the monsters attack or when they're fighting each other, there's definitely guys in rubber suits. So it's fun for that. There's a couple scenes though when the squid will pick people up, and instead of like kind of your typical, like toy figure, these toys seem almost like claymation. They're just a little too big and a little too colorful, but it's a little wacky, but definitely fun. What else did I want to there's these weird animation also. I guess there's certain things they couldn't figure out how to do properly with the rubber squid arms. So it's animated, and the animated color of the squid is totally different than the real life color of the rubber squid. So that makes for more wackiness. Yeah, there's the crab monster that comes out and attacks, and the crab monster ends up fighting a turtle monster. You know, that's all craziness. I mean, it's just there's these weird overlay I mean, they do that a lot, specifically in Toho, where they'll have kind of the model and like footage of the model or the rubber suit guy up here, and then on the bottom is another layer of film with people interacting, so that they can. It's kind of like a double exposure kind of thing, where they have them, but these don't quite match up right. I don't know if it's the color of the footage isn't matching right, but yeah, maybe this is why this one didn't come to America in a big way. Is it has a little bit more flaws than the others. But I think, especially in 1970, everybody was so Godzilla crazy. I mean, I know, like growing up in the 80s, there were Godzilla movies on TV all the time, and I would watch them. So I don't think it would have affected kids watching it to be like, hey, these effects aren't as good as Rodin's effects. Like, I think we would have been fine with it, because it's big rubber monsters. You got to get over it and just dive in and have fun with the story. So um, all those flaws aside, and maybe it was a time constraint kind of issue, and that's why these effects aren't quite as solid as some of the others. So 1970, we're talking, this is like around the time of like Hedorah, Sea Monster, like those movies, and those are great and those are fun, and I think this fits right in line with those. So for whatever reason, Space Amoeba did not, make a big splash, pun intended, in the States, but it should have, and I love it. We had a good time watching it last night. Um, yeah, I mean, it's everything you expect from a movie with a giant squid on the cover. Yeah, I think that pretty much says it. Oh yeah, and then there's a volcano, and yeah, and everything's good at the end, and bats somehow save humanity. I didn't quite get that part, but it was fun anyway. Yeah, if you like kaiju movies, if you like suitimation, if you like goofy early 70s fun monster movies, totally try and find a copy of Space Amoeba. Mine is yet again another bootleg from my buddies who do Monster Mania Fest every year. But I know that it's out there in other ways to see it. Space Amoeba, 1970 by Shiro Honda. Totally a thumbs up. Good way to end the week. So this is the end of week 3 for my daily episodes, and I'll see you guys after the weekend. Have a great one. Bye.